Good evening, and welcome to Teens on Target. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Stevens, the host for the show. This is a program for and about teens. All of our anchors, newscasters, and students are reporters from our local high schools. Each week, I present a book that will help you learn to cope with the adolescent years. But because February is Black History Month, my book tonight will focus on Black history and culture. And the name of the book is Walk Together Children, which is a Black American book on Black spirituals by Ashley Bryan. I want you to promise yourself during the month of February, Black History Month, to read all that you can about Black history and culture. And our book tonight is on the history of Black spiritual music. The Black American spirituals are the religious songs of an African people in the United States. From these enslaved Africans and their descendants came these beautiful songs. During the centuries of the slave trade, millions of Africans were seized in Africa and sold into slavery in the United States. They were thrust into an alien environment, separated from family and friends, forbidden to use their language and practice their culture and their customs. The African had come from societies of ancient musical traditions. Song and dance were interwoven with daily life, and music was an integral part of all of societal functions. Under the injustices, cruelties, and deprivations of slavery, the African found a vital resource for survival in his musical heritage. In Africa, the drum was a prominent instrument in all musical makings. The African genius for creating complex rhythms inspired by the drums distinguishes African music from all others. In the United States, the slaveholder feared the drum as an instrument for transmitting messages and forbade its use. The ability of the Black to make an expressive breakthrough despite restrictions is also evident in the themes of the spirituals. He used the biblical stories of the Hebrews and Jesus that spoke directly to his feelings and the conditions under slavery. That which could not be spoken openly was sung in the spirituals. The message is clear. An example, Go Down Moses. No one knows the first spirituals were created, but by the early 1800s, these songs flourished. Therefore, their beginnings must have been in early slavery. The songs are rooted in the ordeal of slavery. That is why these spirituals are often called sorrow songs and slave songs. Some examples, nobody knows the trouble I see. The Black people used the English language, Christianity, and their limited contact with Western music in the spirituals. But basically, they fused their African musical culture with freely explored melodic ideas in creating these spiritual songs. The most popular form of the spiritual is based on the African call and response chant, a form unknown among other cultures. The leader sings a tune and the group sings a response. Also in the songs Go Down Moses, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, and Walk Together Children. Whatever the melodic form, the songs expressed the emotions and the needs. Under the stress and impulse of varying situations, using joyous or sorrowful songs, these came into being. The authors are generally unknown, but the songs are surely the work both of talented individuals and the group. Black congregations across the United States plays a vital role in preserving the spiritual. This legacy of spirituals were handed down by our forefathers. Their distinctive contribution have made a distinctive contribution to the world of music. As the title of the book states, Walk Together, Children. And that is the title of our book tonight by Ashley Bryant. Our anchors for tonight are Al Kent and Nicole Davis. And now to you, Al.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Teens on Target. Well, as you all know, it's the month of February. February is known for a lot of great things, but the first thing that usually comes to our minds is Valentine's Day. Right, that time when we can all say, hello, I love you, to those who we find special in our lives. We can show it through many different ways, with candy, flowers, or my personal favorite, the cuddly teddy bear. But also, we must remember that February is Black History and Black History Month. And now, with Academic Update, Dolores will talk to you about some special work in libraries.
Thank you, Al. Hi, I'm Dolores Watson with this week's academic update, and today I will give you some information about libraries. Library is a place of continuing education for people of all ages. The library helps those who desire to learn and offers material and programs. There are 5 types of libraries. The first one is a national library. National libraries are maintained by governments to serve the needs of governmental bodies and citizens of a nation as a whole. The second type is a public library. Public libraries is tax supported. These libraries serve the city, town, or county. The third kind of library is a school library. School libraries are the ones in elementary and secondary schools. The fourth kind is state libraries. State libraries provide information to the members of the state legislature and to the people of that state. And the fifth kind is academic libraries. Academic libraries are libraries that are part of colleges, universities, and junior colleges. Going to the library isn't just for checking out books and studying. Most libraries contain non-print materials such as recordings, motion pictures, slides, film strips, art reproductions, maps, and music scores. Public libraries such as the Main Street Library on Bull Street, Savannah, Georgia, serve as a cultural center with film presentations, lectures, and exhibits. Thank you for joining me, Dolores, for Academic Updates. Now to you, Nicole.
Thanks, Dolores. I'm Nicole, your second anchor for tonight. And here's the Teens on Target Top 10. Number 10, I Need You by BMSVT. Number 9, Turn Off the Lights by the World Class Wrecking Crew. Number 8, Hot Thing by Prince. Number 7, Love Changes by Kashif and Melissa Morgan. Number 6, So Emotional by Whitney Houston. Number 5, Push It by Salt and Pepper. Number 4, Over You by Ray Parker Jr. and Natalie Cole. Number 3, Secret Lady by Stephanie Mills. Number 2, I Live for Your Love by Natalie Cole. And the number 1 song again this week is Love Overboard by Gladys Knight and the Pips. And now, with some information about Charles Drew, here's LaShonda.
Hi, I'm LaShonda with a history of Dr. Charles Richard Drew. Dr. Charles Richard Drew was a world-renowned surgeon, medical scientist, educator, and authority on the preservation of blood. He was the pioneer of blood plasma preservation, leaving mankind with an important legacy, the blood bank. Born in 1904 in Washington, D.C., he was the eldest of 5 children born to Charles and Nora Drew. Graduating from Dunbar High School in 1922, he excelled in football, basketball, swimming, and track with much acclaim. At Amherst College in Massachusetts, he was an achiever in both sports and academics. Graduating in 1926 with honors, He went on to become an instructor of biology and chemistry and a director of athletics at Morgan State College in Baltimore, Maryland. Charles Drew loved sports and was a tough competitor. However, he loved the thrill of being a doctor even more. In 1928, Drew entered McGill University Medical School in Montreal, Canada. It was at McGill that he became interested in blood research. He received his Master of Surgery and Doctor of Medicine degrees in 1933. After internships at the Royal Victoria Hospital and the Montreal General Hospital in Canada, he taught at Howard University Medical School. Afterwards, at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in New York City, he researched a process of blood preservation. During his 2 years in Canada, he developed a technique for the long-term preservation of blood plasma. He earned the Doctor of Science in Medicine degree in 1940 with a dissertation on bank blood. In World War II, England suffered heavy casualties and called upon Dr. Drew to initiate a military blood bank program. There, he introduced preserved blood plasma on the battlefield. This system worked so well that the British asked him to organize the world's first mass blood bank project. Dr. Drew also became the first director of the American Red Cross Blood Bank. Drew was killed in an automobile accident while on a trip to a medical meeting at Tuskegee Institute in 1950. The irony of his death is that his life may have been saved if he had received immediate medical attention following the accident. Discrimination at a nearby white hospital did not allow him the blood transfusions needed to save his life. Every blood bank in the world is a living memorial of the genius of Dr. Charles Drew. His name will live on forever in the medical history. Schools and health clinics throughout the United States have been named in honor of Drew and his ingenious gift to mankind. And now back to you, Al.
Thank you, LaShonda, for that wonderful information on Dr. Charles Drew. As was stated, Dr. Drew excelled in sports at Amherst College and at Dunbar High School, which coincidentally is the high school which produced NBA stars Reggie Williams and Tyrone Bowles. Speaking on the note of basketball, let's move right on to the Teens on Target top 10 teams for the week. At number 10, we have the Tompkins Wolverines with a record of 3-16. At number 9, we have the Jenkins High Warriors, who come in with a record of 4 wins and 15 losses. At number 8, we have the Memorial Matadors, who are 6-13, followed by number 7, Johnson High School, who is 9-7. At number 6, we have the Red Raiders from Savannah Christian with a record of 10 wins and 5 losses. They are preceded by number 5, Groves High School, who has a record of 13 wins and 7 losses. At number 4, we have the Bulldogs from Beach High School with a 14-5 record. At number 3, Savannah High, who was formerly number 2, comes in with a 15-4 record. The new number 2 team, Savannah Country Day, with a record of 15-4 also. However, these guys have an outstanding record, considering the ranking of the teams that they've played. And the number 1 team, once again for the 3rd straight week, the Windsor Forest Knights with a record of 20 wins and 0 losses. On the ladies' side, number 10, Windsor Forest. Number 9, Jenkins High with a 2-14 record. Number 8, Tompkins High. Number 7, Savannah High. Number 6, Groves, who has a 6-12 record, who is preceded by Johnson High with a 7-10 record. Number 4, the Lady Saints of St. Vincent. Number 3, Savannah Country Day. Number 2, Savannah Christian with a 10-7 record. And the number 1 team, the Lady Bulldogs of Beach High School with a 19-1 record. Now moving on to the Players of the Week. This week, Player of the Week honors go to Tanetta Rashid and Tyrone Lovett. Tanetta Rashid averaged 25 points in 2 Beach High victories during the past week, while Tyrone Lovett averaged 24 points and 22 rebounds in one loss to Windsor Forest and a victory over Glen Academy. As for the Players of the Month for January, these awards go to Darrell Wall from Windsor Forest High School and Tanetta Rashid. Darrell Wall was the leading scorer for Windsor Forest, leading them to a 20-0 record with a number 4 ranking in the state of Georgia. Tanetta Rashid averaged 25 points during the month of January and led her team to a 19-1 record. In the field of upcoming sports for this week, Windsor Forest will host Statesboro High on Friday, February the 5th. Also on that night, Groves will travel to Brunswick, Savannah High will host Glen Academy in the Beehive, Wayne County will host Tompkins, Beach will travel over to BC, Bradwell will be the guest of Johnson High, and Effingham County will host Jenkins High. On Saturday, February the 6th, Bradwell will be the host team for Windsor Forest, while Beach will host Brunswick. Statesboro will host Savannah High School, while Johnson travels to Tompkins High, and Groves will be the host team for Jenkins High. During the week of February the 10th through the 13th, the sub-region playoffs in the Chatham County area will be held, while February the 18th through the 20th, the region playoffs will take place at the Savannah Civic Center. Now moving on to this week's commentary. Answer this question for me. What's hotter than a Savannah summer? What's more exciting than Redskins' victory in the Super Bowl? And what was more packed than any place you've ever seen? Why not try the Beach High Bulldogs doghouse last week during the game against Savannah High? This week, I'd like to talk about some of the inadequate gyms within our city. Yes, when you find an important game such as Beach and Savannah High, or Savannah High and Windsor Forest, or Beach and Windsor Forest, you always found a big crowd. But as we found out Friday night, it's not always easy to get a seat. Myself, I arrived during the third quarters of the lady game to find that the gym was packed to the rafters. People were everywhere. Now, we can't fault the teams, or really we can't fault the Chatham County school system for this, but some alternatives can be taken to make things better. Why not, when you have a big game schedule, move it to another gymnasium, such as the Armstrong State Gym or the Savannah State Gym, or even the Savannah Civic Center. I'm sure these places will be glad to help you out. Number 2, why not think about remodeling and reflooring some of the schools? When I say reflooring, I mean that some of the schools which have basketball courts have tile floors. These aren't good for the players, and they can be dangerous if a hard fall is taken. So while we're thinking about making new classrooms in the Chatham County school area, why not think about working on our gyms? And now, we have Charles.
Hello, I'm Charles with this week's Tips for Teens. I know some of you are not pleased with your test grades or grades in general, so I'm giving you some study tips. Number 1, designate a certain time each day to study. Number 2, make sure you have a quiet and peaceful area to study in. Number 3, also make sure when you are studying that you are very comfortable, but not too comfortable that you fall asleep. And number 4, make sure not to neglect any subject, but maybe it would be more helpful if you got more study and time effort on your hardest problem subjects. And now to you, Nicole.
Thanks, Charles, for those study tips. And now, with Black History and Culture, here's Benita.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Benita. Today I will be talking about Barney Ford, born 1824, died 1902. Barney Ford was an early pioneer in Colorado, was a businessman, wealthy hotel owner, and restaurateur, political activist, and conductor of the Underground Railroad in Chicago, Illinois. Ford was born a slave in Virginia in 1824. When he was 18, his owner hired him out as a waiter on a Mississippi steamboat. He escaped with the help of the Underground Railroad. He went to Chicago where he met Henry Waggoner. Both men taught themselves to read and write. And later, Ford married Waggoner's sister, Julia, and fathered 3 children. He worked with the Underground Railroad until he heard that gold had been discovered in California in 1848. Since Ford was a fugitive slave, he was fearful of traveling overland. He bought ship passage to California for himself and Julia by way of Nicaragua. Central America proved to be an ideal place for making money, and Ford decided to stay. In 1851, he opened the United States Hotel and Restaurant, playing host to many United States dignitaries. During a political dispute with Great Britain, an American ship bombarded the town, destroying his hotel and half the city. Ford and his wife returned to Chicago $5,000 richer. He opened a livery stable which doubled as a station for the Underground Railroad. In 1860, Ford headed west again to Colorado in search of gold. En route, he was denied a seat on a stagecoach and had to go by wagon train. He was refused a hotel room in Mountain City and boarded with the famous Aunt Clara Brown. He staked a claim near Denver, but it was jumped by white men. He and several other black prospectors staked another claim on a hill southeast of Breckenridge, Colorado. Since the Dred Scott court case decision denied blacks the right to own land, Ford asked his white lawyer to file a claim in the lawyer's name. Presuming that Ford had struck it rich, the lawyer sent the sheriff to run Ford off his land within 24 hours. That night, white riders came and ran Ford and his friends away. The white men were unable to find gold and afterwards started a legend that Ford buried it on the mountainside which they named Nigger Hill. In 1964, it was historically named Barney Ford Hill. Ford returned to Denver and soon became a prosperous tycoon in the hotel, restaurant, and barbershop business. His luxurious Inter-Oceans Hotel in Denver and Cheyenne were the fanciest hotels in the West, and his impressive guest list included President Ulysses S. Grant. By the 1870s, Ford had amassed a fortune estimated at close to $250,000. Ford's influence was felt in many ways. During the Civil War, he gave financial assistance, food, and jobs to runaway and newly freed slaves. With his friend Waggoner, he established Colorado's first adult education classes for blacks. They taught blacks reading, writing, arithmetic, and principles of democratic government. In support of the black cause, Ford joined the fight and lobbied in Washington over the organization of the Colorado Territory and the question of statehood. Ford's battle against statehood was to prevent blacks' loss of citizenship in Colorado. Primarily due to his lobbying efforts, Colorado lost its initial bid for statehood. Later, he became the first black to serve on a Colorado grand jury. In 1882, he and his wife were the first blacks to be invited to a Colorado Association of Pioneers dinner. Ford, who championed the black cause all of his life, died of a stroke in 1902. Continuing with black history and culture, here's Dolores.
Hi, it's me again, Dolores, and this time I will tell you some information about Ida B. Wells Barnett. Ida B. Wells Barnett was a co-founder of the NAACP and an anti-lynch crusader, and a most courageous black woman journalist. She was born the daughter of slave parents in Holly Springs, Mississippi in 1862. She attended Rusk College and Fisk University from 1884 to 1891. She taught segregated public schools in Memphis, Tennessee, and began writing articles for the Free Speech, a black newspaper. In 1891, the Memphis Board of Education fired her because her articles were too fiery and too controversial. Afterward, she became an editor of Free Speech, the black newspaper. Miss Wells was strong-willed and spirited. Once when asked to lead the white section of a train, she flatly refused. and had to be forcibly removed by three conductors. She sued and won $500 in damages, but the decision was later reversed. She became an outspoken antagonist against senseless lynchings of blacks. In 1895, she published A Red Record, a series statistical treatment of tragic lynchings in the United States. Miss Wells married Ferdinand Barnett, an attorney and Chicago newspaper owner, and later had 4 children. Miss Barnett became frustrated that violence against blacks was growing and nothing was being done. Mrs. Barnett was cited as one of the 25 outstanding women in Chicago history, and one of its housing products was named after her. Thank you for joining me, Dolores.
Thanks, Benita and Dolores, for those Black History and Culture segments. And now, with Global Glance, here's Sean.
Thank you, Nicole, and welcome to another edition of Global Glance. Today I'm bringing to you a segment on Senegal. Senegal is the oldest and most important territory of what used to be French West Africa, and Dakar was the seat of government for the 8 territories. About 250 miles long and 300 miles wide, Senegal lies along the westerly part of the coast of Africa. The 1,300-mile Senegal River was the most formidable in the region, and the Gambia River out through the territory. The nation of Gambia is almost completely surrounded by Senegal. Its varied landscape includes grassy stretches of savanna, dry deserts in the north near the Mauritania border, and forest game preserves of the upper Gambia Basin in the south. The weather is ideal for most of the year, with dry sunny days, cool nights, and average temperatures rarely climbing above 81 degrees. The rainy season comes in July, and the climate remains a little humid until October. The largest ethnic group in Senegal are the Wolof, who make up about 56% of the population. Other groups include the Fulani, the Serer, the Mandingo, and the Tulkur. Thank you for joining me for this Global Glance segment. And now to you, Dr. Stevens.
Thanks, Sean, for that segment on Global Glance. Senegal is such an interesting country. I really enjoyed my visit there in 1985. And please join us again next week for another exciting edition of Teens on Target. Good evening.